What's up, guys? It's me, JellyKnees, and this is a video that I've wanted to make a couple times, and I've never been sure how without it being kind of, I don't want to say controversial, but kind of down-putting in a little bit of sense for Ethereal. And I truly don't want it to be that. I think it's important that we know where we come from, but I don't think that necessarily this is a bad thing in and of itself, knowing the history of where we're at. So I want to talk to you guys about when Ethereal's coming out. And this, I won't clickbait you guys. I'm not giving a release date here. So please don't think that that's what this is. I'm going over kind of what I expect we're going to hear in the next weeks to a couple months, and kind of where we've come from toward that end as well. If you guys have been subscribed since the beginning, my first video about Ethereal, I said that it was my most anticipated game of 2020, and that was in April of 2019. And granted, lots of things in the world have happened since then, but it's just kind of crazy to think about that we were at that point where we were getting announcements and release dates back in 2019, and we're still not there yet. And we had multiple announcements prior to that as well. So this has been a long road toward the end of getting Ethereal made and having it be released. And the team has changed and the game has changed and all those kinds of things. And we had the pandemic of 2020, so that's its own thing. But first thing I want to do is kind of recap what happened at the end of 2020 in terms of release schedule for Ethereal. Now, this is really since I started seriously covering the game with regular updates for you guys. So back in November of 2020, we had the Extra Life test. The Extra Life test was a kind of very small demo version of Dante, the Towers, and the Elders. The minions were not the correct minions for the game yet. The map itself was not the correct map. That was something that they just put together for the Extra Life children's event. About a week later, I believe it was November 14th, the blog post started coming out for Ethereal and kind of started giving more information about the systems, the items, the abilities, the characters, the skins, the whole 9 yards. Really, really good blog posts that were coming out consistently throughout really November to January. Those blog posts were being posted pretty consistently. In that time frame, we kind of learned that there was a planned release date of the end of 2020. And there was no date attached to that, but kind of the end of 2020 means the end of 2020. So knowing that there had to be a Kickstarter and knowing that most Kickstarters run for at least a month, the community basically figured out or assumed, rightfully or wrongfully, that the Kickstarter would come out probably first week of December, last week of November, run for a month, pre-alpha would be out after that. As we inched through into December, the release date was pushed from end of 2020 to end of Q1 2021. And so that being March 31st, 2021. The final blog post comes out in January of 2021. And then it's mostly radio silence. We got a little bit of like teasers and updates. The Discord changed. The website changed a little bit. The website had a huge update. The Discord changed. Project Ember became a thing. We got little hints and teasers here and there until the spotlights started being released in March of 2021. Now those went through every week for the first pre-alpha 7, ending in about mid-April, with the Leah video that I put out and then the Leah spotlight. With that, just prior to the Leah spotlight on April 13th, we got a message from Kai in the announcements of the Ethereal Discord. The Ethereal Discord, basically, he was saying that Leah Spotlight wasn't ready. They were delaying it a week. And that while they don't have any details of release date for the game, and they're not ready to release the game quite yet, they are planning for an update regarding new information and information on the Kickstarter in the upcoming weeks, is in the upcoming couple weeks. So that post kind of got a lot of people hyped up. And Mangoose and I talked about this at length on Enter the Ether, but the track record with Ethereal is that There are things that are said and it doesn't happen. And so a lot of people, for that announcement of a couple weeks, basically figured like, okay, this is happening April 13th of 2021. Couple weeks means by the end of the month. And I cautiously and kind of jokingly was trying to push people more towards let's shoot for the end of May. Let's give them a little more time. Let's not stick to this couple weeks words that were said. Toward that end, here we are, about a week and a half away from the end of May, and we have an announcement for a live community corner. Now that live community corner is happening this Saturday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. Central, and that they've said is going to cover a live tour of the map, basically. And they're going to be answering questions from Twitch chat during that meantime. If you guys aren't following the UG Twitch channel, please make sure, I'll leave a link in the description, go do that to make sure you don't catch that live stream, or get subscribed to me on either Twitch or YouTube, and I will also be live streaming at the same time, kind of talking about the things they're revealing or showing or asking questions myself, kind of engaging with anyone that wants to talk more about these things after and during the live community corner. So this live community corner, we assume Skifter mentioned that he was going to cover the jungle in the Enter the Ether podcast that he kind of revealed this community corner in. They mentioned on the Discord it's going to be a live tour of the map. So those are the only things that they've announced, and that there's going to be a guest of some kind. But I'm honestly not too terribly worried about that. So those two things are the only things they've announced. Now, they could definitely be ready to release more information about the Kickstarter, or release the Kickstarter itself after or during that live stream. And I don't know for sure that they won't, one way or the other. But here's kind of what I expect, or what I want to cover regarding that live stream and what I think is going to happen during that live stream. In terms of actual gameplay footage, are we going to see people fighting each other in the game? I don't think so. I think this is truly going to be basically a jungle spotlight. I think we're going to, or a map spotlight, in that we're going to see them walking around the map. They're going to answer questions. They're going to show things on the map itself, but we're not going to see combat between myths. We're not going to see an actual game be played out, because I think they would have said that if that was the case. And I think they're saving that for the release of the Kickstarter. Towards that end as well, I would think if they were releasing the Kickstarter at the same time as this, they'd be pushing more for people to know that this is an event, more than the mention on Enter the Ether and the one post in their Discord. I would think that there would be more hype leading up to that to get people excited about this live stream than just the one post. So I personally don't think the Kickstarter is coming after the live stream on Saturday. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that that's going to be the case. Toward that end, if we're not getting the Kickstarter on this week, the couple weeks mention that we got in the announcements is basically past. When I jokingly said the end of May, I didn't think we were actually going to push it to the end of May. Next week will mark the last week of May. And that's basically, in my mind, that is the last time that couple weeks potentially could still apply. I will let you guys know that I personally get extremely discouraged in seeing constant updates that amount to nothing. Mangoose and I talked about it. I think I firmly believe in the under promise over deliver, and saying a couple weeks and not being able to do it a month and a half later scares me in a lot of ways. I want this game to succeed, not just for my own sake, but just in general as a gamer. I want this game to succeed and be plentiful and come out and be great and all of those things. And I firmly expect it will eventually come out. I don't think by any means Owen is going to let the project die, or even other team members at UG are going to let the project die by any stretch of the imagination. My concern is that we are establishing this lack of communication early on. In all of this, we constantly get updates that don't come to fruition. That's a major concern for me heading forward, and could potentially be a negative once the game is even released. But I kind of want to get away from all of that and talk about what I do expect us to see in the coming weeks. I think if we don't see the Kickstarter by this Saturday or next week, I honestly would be shocked if we didn't get it within a couple weeks into June. I think that there may have been internal delays in terms of releasing the Kickstarter, but I don't see how we don't get that Kickstarter in June. And I don't see what UG could use as reasoning to say that those delays for the Kickstarter itself. Now, they can launch the Kickstarter, have it go for a month, and then say that the keys won't be delivered for the pre-alpha until September. I don't know if that's something they're going to do or not. In the past, we've kind of explored the idea of that it would be one right into the other, or relatively quickly with the pre-alpha follow. So I don't know how that's going to look. But overall, I would say that I am very hopeful to see the Kickstarter by mid-June at the absolute latest. As for the pre-alpha date after that, I would think we would see the pre-alpha before the end of the summer. If we get the Kickstarter in the mid of June, we have the Kickstarter run for at least a month. That puts us to mid-July. We have half of July and all of August, really, and then even a couple weeks into September to kind of get the game out before the end of the summer. Now, that's allowing them to do the internal testing, allowing them to build the hype, whatever they want to do, all of these things to build the game up and get it ready for that release. I don't think, at the rate that we're going, I don't think we see a world where the Kickstarter runs straight into the pre-alpha. As much as I would love that to be the case. But guys, I would love to actually extend this conversation out to you guys. And I realize I say that about everything. I want to talk to you guys in the comments, but I mean this seriously. How do you guys feel about the delays? How do you feel about the communication style of UG and these announcements and what they mean? And what do you expect us to see regarding the Kickstarter and the release of the game and all of those things? I really, really am curious to hear your guys' thoughts. So in the comments, in my Discord, join that in the description. In the Ethereal Discord, just use the @JellyKnees. I'm happy to talk about it there. But I'm really curious to hear you guys' thoughts. And I know that I'm usually the silly, over-the-top guy in the Ethereal community, but I felt like this was important to talk to you guys about going into this Saturday's live stream with some set expectations and not expecting the world from UG going in. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that Saturday comes and they say Kickstarter's coming out, and then in a month we'll have the pre-alpha and all of these things. But I think we need to go in and kind of lower our expectations going in and be surprised if it does happen, but not disappointed if it doesn't. But guys, that's going to be it for me on this one. Like I said, I would love to continue this conversation with any of you. UG team, if you guys are watching, I would love to continue this conversation with any of you guys as well. But I think this was an important video to kind of talk about where we've come from and what we can do to set our expectations going forward and kind of temper those a little bit. And at least maybe even just for myself to really try and let UG have a good game come out, but also be honest with their communication for their community. I'll see you guys in the next one.